The marine industry has a dirty secret it has spent decades disguising as choice. Walk into any boat show in America, and you will see hundreds of brands, thousands of models, an overwhelming wall of fiberglass and chrome and horsepower claims. What you will not see is the organizational chart sitting behind all of it. A handful of conglomerates own most of what you are looking at. The engineering compromises were made before the hull left the mold, and the saltwater will find every one of them. This is the video the dealers do not want you to watch before you sign. Number 7. Sea Ray. Sea Ray built its reputation across 6 decades as the aspirational American powerboat, the brand that put a sleek fiberglass cruiser in the driveway of the American dream. Today, it is a wholly owned subsidiary of Brunswick Corporation, the same conglomerate that controls Bayliner, Boston Whaler, Mercury Marine, and a portfolio of other brands wide enough to stock an entire boat show with one set of shareholders. It is worth noting that Sea Ray exited the yacht market entirely in 2018, when Brunswick made the strategic decision to discontinue the L-Class series and pull the brand out of vessels above 40 feet. Sea Ray's current lineup runs from roughly $22,000. For entry SPX bow riders up to approximately $900,000 to $1.2 million for a fully optioned SLX 400 or Sundancer 370 at the top of the current range. Price points that still imply engineering substance. What you get instead is a product built to Brunswick's platform sharing economics. Hull tooling, component sourcing, and manufacturing infrastructure are consolidated across Brunswick brands, which means the Sea Ray you are paying, a premium badge for shares, more DNA with the Bayliner 2 slips down than the marketing suggests. The hidden mechanism here is corporate consolidation dressed as legacy. Sea Ray's Knoxville, Tennessee headquarters, and its Tennessee and Florida assembly plants still exist, but the engineering decisions happen at the conglomerate level, optimized for margin, not for the owner who is going to run this hull in saltwater for 20 years. Owner forums on sites like the Hull Truth document. Recurring complaints about gel coat delamination, water intrusion at hull-to-deck joints, and electrical harness failures in the 2 to 5 year ownership window. The exact window where the original warranty is either expiring or already gone. A Sea Ray Sundancer bought for $180,000 that requires $40,000 in hull and electrical remediation before its 6th season is not a premium boat. It is a premium price attached to a conglomerate cost structure. The brand that sold you the dream was acquired. What you bought was the logo. Number 6. Chaparral Boats. Chaparral markets itself aggressively on an American manufacturing heritage story, building boats since 1965 and producing them in Nashville, Georgia since 1976. And that heritage narrative is a core part of their sales pitch. What gets less emphasis is the corporate structure underneath. Chaparral is a subsidiary of Marine Products Corporation, a publicly traded company on the New York Stock Exchange, which means engineering and capital decisions ultimately answer to quarterly earnings reports. Chaparral's current bow rider and sport boat lineup runs from approximately $30,000 into the mid-$100,000 range for larger SSX and Surf Series models. The construction uses hand-laid fiberglass on a vacuum-infused core, which sounds substantial until you examine where the process varies across the model range. Entry and mid-tier Chaparral models on the used market have a well-documented history of balsa core construction in the deck that, in cases of improper bedding around hardware penetrations, allows water intrusion into the core over time. Saturated balsa core is not a cosmetic problem. It is a structural one. The repair cost to excavate, dry, and replace a compromised balsa deck section runs from $8,000 to over $20,000, depending on how far the intrusion has traveled. And it is a repair most owners only discover when the deck starts to feel soft underfoot, often years after the water began moving. Chaparral has incorporated composite reinforcements into more recent builds, But the pre-owned market carries significant exposure to this issue, and Chaparral's lifetime hull warranty sounds protective until you read the exclusions around hardware installation and maintenance obligations that can be used to deny core-related claims. Owner reports on iBoats and Chaparral dedicated forums describe exactly this pattern. The heritage story is real. Buyers in the used market in particular need to survey carefully before they sign. Number 5. Tracker boats. Tracker is the highest volume aluminum fishing boat manufacturer in America, and volume is precisely the problem. Tracker is owned by Bass Pro Shops founder Johnny Morris through White River Marine Group, which also controls Nitro, Mako, Tahoe, Sun Tracker, Ranger, and Regency, among others. This is the marine equivalent of a mass-market platform play. Tracker's aluminum John boats and base boats start under $10,000 and run through the mid-30s, and at those entry price points, the construction reflects the economics. Tracker's current lineup is all welded, a transition the company completed in the early 2000s, and the yard's marketing emphasizes that point heavily. The engineering caveat is that welded aluminum hulls are not failure-free. Owner forums and independent repair shops document recurring reports of cracked welds along stringers, transoms, and hull seams, particularly on boats that see hard use in rough water. Welded seam failures, when they occur, require pulling interior components and re-welding sections that were never designed for easy access. And unlike rivets, weld repairs require specialized aluminum welding equipment and skill that not every shop has. Tracker's dealer network runs almost exclusively through Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's locations, which means your service options are constrained to that ecosystem. Independent marine technicians who work on Tracker boats note that proprietary rigging arrangements and White River Group component sourcing make parts sourcing outside the Bass Pro network slower and sometimes more expensive than the sticker price on the original boat implied. You bought affordable. You discovered that affordable has a service infrastructure to match. Now, before we get to where the money actually needs to go, drop a comment right now. What boat brand did you buy? How long have you owned it? And has it ever sent you back to the dealer for something that should never have failed that fast? I already know what a significant number of those comments are going to say. Let's continue. Number 4. Cobalt boats. Cobalt is where the story gets more complicated, because Cobalt is genuinely a cut above the platform-sharing conglomerates, and its Neodesha, Kansas facility produces boats with real construction quality, including a composite stringer system and a reputation among marine surveyors for solid hull-to-deck bonding. The problem is, Cobalt was acquired by Malibu Boats in 2017 for $130 million. And Malibu's strategic interest in Cobalt was not purely altruistic. Malibu needed Cobalt's stern drive and outboard footprint to complement its own wakeboat dominant lineup. When a high-volume wakeboat manufacturer acquires a premium stern drive builder, the engineering culture of the acquiring company eventually shapes the acquired one. Cobalt buyers paying between approximately $88,000 for the entry CS series and over $800,000 for a fully optioned R35 flagship are now buying into a brand whose long-term engineering independence is owned by a publicly traded company with quarterly earnings obligations. A structural change that has been in effect for nearly a decade now. Marine surveyors who regularly inspect Cobalt hulls still report favorably on pre-acquisition and recent post-acquisition models. Whether that holds as Malibu's cost structure continues to assert itself over future product cycles is the question no dealer will answer honestly when you are standing at the boat show with a checkbook. Number 3. Grady White boats. Here is where the transition begins to make sense. Grady White is a Greenville, North Carolina manufacturer that was founded in 1959 by Glenn Grady and Don White, and has been under continuous private ownership by Eddie Smith and the Smith family since 1968. It has never been sold to a conglomerate. That independence is not a marketing story. It is a structural fact with measurable engineering consequences. Grady White builds exclusively in fiberglass using a hand-laid construction process, and its proprietary CV2 hull design, developed in collaboration with naval architect C. Raymond Hunt, has become the company's performance signature, delivering the smooth, dry ride that the brand is known for. Current pricing runs from approximately $70,000 for the smaller coastal walk-around models into the $1.5 million range for a fully optioned Canyon 456 flagship. Grady White carries a limited structural warranty on the hull, and unlike the warranty language on several of the brands earlier in this list, marine surveyors and long-term owners consistently report that Grady White actually honors it. J.D. Power has ranked Grady White first in customer satisfaction among fiberglass outboard boat manufacturers multiple times, and the company has won the National Marine Manufacturers Association Customer Satisfaction Index Award for over 20 consecutive years. That is third-party validation from methodologies that measure actual owner experience, not marketing claims. The total cost of ownership math runs like this. A Grady White purchased for $120,000 that requires minimal structural remediation over 20 years, holds strong resale value in the brokerage market, and carries parts support from a manufacturer that has never changed hands, is a different financial proposition than a $180,000 conglomerate product that needs $40,000 in hull work before year 7. Grady White is not the cheapest way into a fiberglass boat. It is one of the cheapest ways through 20 years of saltwater ownership. Number 2, Alumacraft. Alumacraft is the working definition of what aluminum boat construction looks like when it is not being optimized for a retail price point. Founded in 1946 in Minneapolis, Minnesota, with production now centered in St. Peter, Minnesota, Alumacraft has changed hands multiple times in recent years, owned by private equity firm Corinthian Capital Group from 2012, by Canadian powersports company BRP from 2018, and most recently acquired in April 2025 by Brighton Marine Group, a family-owned aluminum boat manufacturer with operations in Washington State and British Columbia. Unlike the platform sharing consolidation we examined earlier in this list, each of Alumacraft's owners has maintained the brand's dedicated engineering and manufacturing operation in St. Peter, rather than folding it into a multi-brand production floor. Alumacraft's welded aluminum construction uses marine-grade 5000 series aluminum alloy throughout, with hull side thickness specifications on their competition and Voyager series in the 0.125-inch range, meaningfully heavier than what you find on the entry-tier competitors. Every Alumacraft hull is fully welded, and the company backs that construction with a limited lifetime hull warranty. The real-world consequence of that construction difference shows up in the resale market. A 10-year-old Alumacraft in good condition holds value in the used boat market at a rate that entry-tier aluminum boats simply do not match, because buyers and dealers who know aluminum boats understand that a fully welded hull from a heavier alloy gauge is a fundamentally different asset. Alumacraft's dealer network spans the upper Midwest and extends nationally through a dedicated marine dealer structure, rather than a single retailer ecosystem, which means independent technicians in most fishing markets have familiarity with the product. For the buyer who wants an aluminum fishing boat that will still be a functional, repairable, resaleable asset. In 15 years, Alumacraft is where that conversation starts. Number 1, Boston Whaler. Boston Whaler's founding claim is not marketing language. In 1961, founder Richard Fisher published a now-famous photograph in Life magazine showing him sitting calmly in the stern of a 13-foot whaler that had been sawn in half by a crosscut saw, and both pieces still floated. After the cut was completed, Fisher used the stern section to motor back to shore. The construction method that produced that result, a closed-cell polyurethane foam core fully bonded between the inner and outer fiberglass hull skins, is still the core of Boston Whaler's construction philosophy today. Yes, Boston Whaler is also owned by Brunswick Corporation, the same conglomerate that owns Sea Ray, and that fact deserves acknowledgement. Brunswick acquired Boston Whaler in 1996 for approximately $27 million, after the brand had passed through several owners including CML Group, Reebok, and Meridian Sports. The difference is what Brunswick has chosen to do with each brand. Sea Ray competes on aspirational styling across a wide price range. Boston Whaler operates as Brunswick's premium engineering platform, and the construction separation between the two brands is measurable. Whaler's Unibond hull construction produces a hull that remains afloat even when fully swamped or severely damaged, a claim that is also backed by U.S. federal flotation requirements for boats under 20 feet, though Whaler exceeds those standards by design across its full lineup. Current pricing runs from approximately $25,000 for the smallest 130 Supersport models to well over $1.5 million for a fully optioned 420 Outrage flagship. And the resale data across the entire lineup is the most compelling total cost of ownership argument in the production fiberglass boat market. A 15-year-old Boston Whaler in good condition routinely sells on the brokerage market for 60 to 70% of its original purchase price. No other production fiberglass brand holds value at that rate across that time span consistently. Marine surveyors, who are paid to find problems with boats, describe Boston Whaler hulls as the lowest risk survey in the fiberglass outboard market. That is not a brand claim. That is the professional assessment of people whose job is to be skeptical. The marine industry has spent decades selling you the fantasy of the open water, while engineering the financial reality of the boatyard bill. The sticker price is not the cost of the boat. The cost of the boat is the hull work in year 5, the resale collapse in year 8, the parts delay when the manufacturer discontinued your model, and the survey report when you try to sell something a buyer's lender will not finance. The brands worth buying are the ones where that math runs differently, where the construction is honest, the warranty is real, and the boat is still worth something when you are done with it. Two brands pass every one of those tests consistently. Drop a comment with what you are currently running and whether the ownership experience has matched what the dealer promised. Subscribe if this saved you from a 6-figure mistake. If you want to see more, click the video on screen now.